Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's about 4:03, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to I'll continue to let people in. Welcome to our April Development Insights group. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Joe Benish. I'm a past president, not the past president of the Downtown Chamber of Commerce, and I help out facilitating these meetings. So before we get started, I'd like to turn it over to Stacy Bennett, our executive director, to kind of do some general welcome and announcements.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for attending today. On behalf of the Chamber, appreciate everyone's attendance and looking forward to everyone's participation today. We have a couple of great speakers. I will ask that everyone remains muted during the presentations, and then we will have time for Q&A afterwards. So thanks so much for being here, and thank you to the DIG committee for all of their hard work planning this. Back to you, Joe.
Very good. Thank you, Stacy. Before we get started with the program, I believe Jeff Magner from Terracon has got a presentation or a brief statement he'd like to make. Jeff, you should have the ability to share your screen and stuff now. So if you want to pull something up.
Sure. Appreciate that, Joe. Yeah, I wanted to take the opportunity this afternoon with sponsorship here to talk a little bit about Terracon. And we have, as many, we work with many of you on the call here today. We are all things site development, geotechnical, environmental, and really appreciate being part of these DIG events. The DIG organization, or the Chamber DIG group, is just really does a really good job about spreading the news of what's coming up in Des Moines and downtown area. So I wanted to take the opportunity. I'm going to share my screen and pick the right screen. All right. How's that look, Joe? You should see a circle with a lot of dots, red dots. Are you able to see that? Okay, excellent. All right, so this is what we call our GIS platform, and we've been in the Des Moines area since the 60s, so we have a lot of information. This is our geotechnical and environmental information in a GIS web-based platform, and we regularly collaborate with our clients. Think of all the information here that you can mine from this historic info, and then start to think about overlaying that with layers of publicly available information, whether that's geologic maps or floodplain, wetland maps. There's just a vast amount of information that we can add to this. So as you're looking at site development, all the information that, all the key pieces of information you're looking at, certainly from a geotech and environmental standpoint, there is significant information available to you here. We have a product called Stage 1, and that's where we are able to bring together all of that information into a report or a deliverable, highlighting all that background information for your use. If you're looking at developing property, this is not just Des Moines or Iowa. This is a nationwide platform. So, regardless of where your projects may be, some of you work outside of Iowa. This is available pretty much coast to coast. I want to take a moment here and zoom in on a project. This was a project near Drake, where we were working very early, put together what I call a Stage 1 report. This was a development that's in plan. It's still pretty early, but I was going to share with you some of the information that we pulled together. So you can see I'm able to click on any of these dots. It's going to pull in reports. If I click here on this GeoReport website, this is the platform that our client would see. And hence they're able to, I'm going to switch over to here. Oops, grab this one. Okay, so this would be the platform you're able to see. And you can see, the site here is called out. And what I find neat about this is all this available information, bedrock geology. I'm going to back out here just a hair. You can also see like where shallow bedrock may be. Up here, this is along the river, there's some shallow bedrock. It also has coal mine maps.
Hey Jeff, I'm still seeing the aerial.
Oh, Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Are you seeing my screen, or did I? Let me
Nope.
try to share my screen again. Sorry. All right. How about now?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So again, the site was down here, and I pulled in one of the layers we can pull in is coal mine map. So if you're familiar with the Des Moines area, there's a lot of coal mines in and around Des Moines. So you can see these are actual mine maps that are beneath large areas of Des Moines that are developed with residential and commercial areas. So yeah, a lot of mining history out there also throughout the metro. The stage one deliverable then houses a lot of information. You're able, so again, the client has access to all of this online. And we take all that historic information and basically put together a conceptual geotechnical model. So if you're interested in knowing what's on your site, you don't even have to get a drill rig out there. Again, we're using nearby information and publicly available information to develop what you're likely to see on your site. So you can imagine if you're going to be constructing anything, developing what are your risks with respect to the soils you're going to be moving around, or potential for shallow bedrock or shallow groundwater. That is all covered within the report. We have a lot of clients that use this service anonymously. They're able to come in and look at sites without even needing to talk to property owners necessarily. But we're able to give them a confidence estimate on how, if the information is very good. A lot of times we'll have information on the site from historic data. So your information is going to be much more confident in the, this is probably what your site's going to look like. So we're able to help, like pre-construction folks understand what the risks are going to be as they're putting together preliminary budget estimates. From an environmental standpoint, this particular site didn't have environmental in it, but we're able to mine all the historic phase one data information, underground tanks, wetlands, any type of recognized environmental conditions. So again, just a vast amount of information. And I thought the dig group, that the folks that attend these calls are interested in this. It's a great resource, and just wanted to share that with everybody. So again, if you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me. I know on the call also, Sid Jwarker, Ryan Morgan, Anita Maher-Lewis, some of our key folks are also on the call. Very, very happy to speak to you about this product. And if you have any questions, just reach out to us. So
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Would you mind typing your contact information in there so folks can reach out to you and talk a little bit more about that?
I sure will. Thanks, Joe.
You bet. Thank you. And actually, if you want to kick your screen share off, that would be.
Yep.
Thanks. Great.
Okay.
So our next person who's going to speak with us today is from Ryan Companies, and what Nick wants to talk to you about is there are two pieces. He wants to talk a little bit about Ryan Companies, and he's got a short presentation he's going to share with you as well. Nick, would you like to go ahead and share your screen and get us rolling?
You bet. Can you see it okay, Joe?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. I will be brief, I promise. I want to get this turned over to Jerry because I know everybody wants to hear what he has to say. So, but again, thanks for, I guess we're excited to be a sponsor for today's event, and I'm excited to talk about the ACE Mentor Program. But just a quick 2 minutes about Ryan Companies. Here's some facts and figures on the screen. So we were founded just 83 years ago. We are now we have 15 offices now across the U.S. and over 1,500 employees. I'm going to change the view here. So as a comprehensive commercial real estate company, Ryan Companies can provide our clients all the services from the conception of their building through, after they move into their building. And we do this with our real estate development team, our capital markets team, architecture, construction, and our real estate management team. I wanted to just pull things local now. Some of you may not know, we actually moved from Clive to downtown Des Moines. It's been almost 2 years now. We were in our office for a year, and then of course, COVID changed everything. So we are at 111 East Grand, and we had the privilege to construct our own building. And this was the first mass timber building in the Midwest, and the second mass timber building in the US. We have nearly 80 employees in our Central Iowa office employees, and we have nearly 100 field employees out of Central Iowa. And that includes 21 real estate management employees. And I did want to spotlight that team. It has grown leaps and bounds over the last few years. And again, many people may not know, but our real estate management team in Iowa, in Central Iowa, manages over 2 million square feet in the Des Moines area. And so we're looking ahead to what we hope is the near future. And we're looking forward to meeting in person and getting back out into our community, connecting with our design partners, our subcontractor partners, many of you who are on this call, get back to human connection. And we're really looking forward to it. I think we're all tired of Zoom calls. And so we're looking forward to what hopefully in the near future is going to be back to normal. So I breezed through that pretty quickly. I want to get to the ACE Mentor program as well. So in a normal year, the ACE Mentor program and the DIG committee, join forces, and we actually normally commit an entire big event to ACE Mentor to our local affiliate. We'll bring 2 teams in. They will present students. They'll present to the audience. The audience can ask questions. But the program this year was completely virtual, so it doesn't lend itself to something in person. But as a committee, we think the program is important. So I'm going to talk for just a few minutes about what the program is. And I should note that I've been a mentor and involved with ACE for almost 8 years now. And so I guess what is the ACE Mentor program? So it was developed as a way to get high school students involved, exposed to, and really excited about what we do in our industry. The goal is to help build the workforce and make sure it's a diverse workforce and prepared. And ideally, they're replacing us someday, whether it's in the office or in the field. And so, again, this was developed to really expose to them and bring industry professionals together and mentor these students and learn about what we do. On a national level, so there are 77 affiliates. And last year, these are last year's numbers, there were over 4,000 mentors, over 10,000 students. And as an organization nationally, ACE gave away, over the last, almost 25 years, ACE has given away almost $23 million. Locally, so we were established, Central Iowa affiliate was established in 2005. Started out with 1 team at 1 school. We've now expanded to 6 teams with 18 high schools. And depending on the year, we were 100 to 150 students participating, and anywhere from 60 to 90 mentors participating. As an affiliate ourselves, we've given away over $200,000 in scholarship money. And just this past year, last month, actually, we gave away $30,000 in scholarships to 12 students. So I have the privilege again to be the scholarship chair, and so it was really special to be able to help these students as they go into college or into the trades and help them fund their future education. So those who don't know about the ACE program, you're probably wondering, what does that look like? What's the ACE year, as we call it? And so it's in our affiliate, it's 15 weeks. And there's a few things we mix in. We do a job site tour, so they can see an active job site, construction site. We'll go see a manufacturing facility like PDM Precast, who has been they've been a big supporter of ACE. So we've done quite a few tours through their plant. But the bulk of the year is we develop a project every year. And the students will design and plan the construction. So the construction team will do an estimate and schedule and a site logistics plan. And then the architects and engineer students will design the architecture and engineering. So mechanical, electrical, structural. And again, so what I'm showing you just as an example is from 2 years ago. Again, we were virtual this year, so it was just a little different of a year. And so what I'm showing you now is what comes out of these 16 weeks and really shows you what these students can do in a short amount of time. So I'm just going to thumb through some of these photos. This was the Des Moines Metro team, which is all Des Moines schools. And the project last year was a nature hub for waterworks. So last thing, because I'm sure you're all wondering, hey, Nick, how can I participate in ACE? I'll put some info in the chat session, but we always are needing mentors, and we are always needing donations, primarily for scholarships, but also just for general, operational funds. So Joe, I will stop sharing. And again, thank you everybody for listening, and I look forward to the rest of the presentation.
Nick, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. I do also want to encourage folks to get involved in the mentoring program. It's a great opportunity. With that, we're going to go on to the next section of our program. But before we do, I just want to encourage everybody to type the questions in the chat, and we will have a Q&A section at the end. But our next presenter is Jerry Haberman, who's the president of Cross Plus, who's going to talk to us about bringing professional soccer to Des Moines and kind of his efforts with that group. So Jerry, the floor is yours.
Great, thanks, Joe. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Great. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for the invite today. This is my first opportunity to be in front of this organization and learn a little bit about it, and looks like something that I'll want to participate in going forward. So it's great to be here. As Joe mentioned, my name is Jerry Haberman. I'm the president of Cross Plus, and I will spend the next 15-20 minutes talking about, well, who is Cross Plus? What do you do? And then I know the big thing that everybody wants to hear about today is what's happening with the stadium development project and some timelines and details about that. So I'll get to that and then leave some time at the end for Q&A. So I came to Des Moines in October of 2018. I've been in the real estate development business for 30 years, mostly in hospitality, but also master plan, mixed use, commercial, retail development around the US, and even some development around the world. And so came to Des Moines to join what at the time was called Kraus Group Real Estate, which is the real estate business underneath the Kraus Group or the Kraus family of businesses. Many of you know Come and Go is the prime business, but there are also 10 other businesses underneath that, and Kraus Plus is one of them. We created the name Kraus Plus a year ago, and we're in the process of getting that word out. Who are we? What do we do? So, as I said, we're the commercial real estate investment group. So we are focused on acquisition, development, management, and optimization of real estate for the Kraus family, for the Kraus business. And we focus on everything non-come and go. So we do not get involved with site selection or building of the convenience stores, but any other commercial real estate investment is under our responsibilities. One of the great things about this company and the Kraus family, and particularly Kyle Kraus as an investor, is he looks through the lens of multi-generational investment and ownership. We are not a typical developer that finds an undervalued piece of property, spruces it up, stabilizes, and sells and moves on to the next one. We are investing in the long term and investing in the community long term. We have a lot of different projects: hospitality, obviously professional athletics with the stadium project, other commercial real estate, and residential. We have two markets, very strangely, very oddly, but we have two markets. One is Des Moines, Iowa, and one is Northern Italy. And so I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we have going on in Northern Italy as part of our, again, overall responsibilities as a development business. I would encourage you all to go to krausplus.com. We just stood up our website a few months ago. It's still a bit of a work in progress, but I encourage you to go there. You can get a lot more details about the team and about some of the different things that we're working on, different initiatives. Really important to understand our mission, our values. I talked about long-term investment, long-term ownership, and being a part of the community. So we are about promoting positive growth, nurturing connection. There's been a lot of discussion. I think Nick mentioned, man, I'm ready to be back and having human connection. So, we're all about that, all about nurturing that and fostering a vibrant community. We put people, planet first. A lot of people say that, but we actually live that. We do that. I can speak to a few of those things later in the presentation. Our vision is a world where everyone can live healthier and happier lives. We value sustainability, revitalization, inclusivity, community, and as I said, longevity. We stand this up as a statement. Purpose, people, the planet, and philanthropy drive our decisions every day. These are the 4 pillars that don't just stand up Kraus Plus, but stand up all of the Kraus Group and all of our businesses. We harness these values into real world actions, and this guides our operating philosophy. So now I'm going to transition. That's a little bit about who we are. Now I'm going to talk a little about what we own. So within the Des Moines Central Business District, we have approximately 200 units of multifamily, just shy of 200,000 square feet of commercial and retail. This does not include the Kraus Gateway Center. Even though that is part of the corporate portfolio, it's not within our purview. And then we have 600,000 square feet of warehouse flex space. Some of those properties include 1420 Locust. Many of you have probably eaten at Django, so they're one of our tenants. Arlington Hallett on the Sculpture Park. Proof is also one of our tenants. Ritual Cafe. So again, some of these places, many of you have probably visited and enjoyed a meal or a coffee or something. 1440 Apartments, 100 200 East Grand, and then the Bell Avenue Business Park on Grace Lake. Here's just a sampling of some photos. You can see again the Django property and Forge as a tenant, 1440 Locust here on the corner, and then Arlington Hallett with Proof on the first floor with Ritual Cafe next door, and then Bottle Bottega at the end. This is more of our commercial portfolio. So this bottom center picture is 100 200 East Grand, which we purchased last year. Actually, during the pandemic, we were still investing money in Des Moines. We also own the Bell Avenue Business Park. And then this is the Zuckert properties on the north block of what we refer to as the Western Gateway. Just some really good, usable commercial real estate office space, and actually very affordable for people sort of transitioning maybe from a home office to a standalone office, and then transitioning hopefully to more space in our portfolio in the future. Speaking of the future, so we have a lot of future development plans. We have a lot of inventory teed up in our portfolio. So we own 5 acres, what we refer to as the Western Gateway. And these are 2 blocks of property that are off of Ingersoll, just adjacent to the Kraus Gateway Center. We also own 18 acres south of MLK. We refer to those as the Tuttle sites. Those are east of the Mid-American Energy substation. And then we have 50 acres at Bell Avenue. And then we have another almost 6 acres at 100-200 East Grand. So we have over 80 acres of development in the pipeline. And then we look at redevelopment, revitalization over the next 20 years. And this doesn't even include the potential stadium project, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. So this is just a map, Des Moines. These areas shaded in light blue. This is what we refer to as the Western Gateway. Can you see my cursor? Great. So this is what we refer to as the Western Gateway. Obviously, this is the Krause Gateway Center. This is 100-200 East Grand. We see this as a near-term great asset to own, operate, produces good NOI, has great tenants. But long-term, it's 5 acres, really in the heart of what's being redeveloped in that western edge of the East Village. You saw the mass timber building as an example of that just across the street. So this will be something we'll look at over the next 10, 15 years. What could this be reimagined as? Then you start to go south of MLK. So this piece here is what we refer to as the Tuttle sites, approximately 18 acres. We purchased this land thinking we were going to build our stadium project here. But then as things advanced, we started working closely with the city, and we learned that there was an opportunity for us to even do a bigger, bolder project and revitalize the Dyko site to the west. And so we have this highlighted. We don't own this property, but we're working closely with the city on a major redevelopment of that site. And then I mentioned we own the Bell Avenue Business Park just south of Grays Lake. This is 49 acres of what we look to as future development in what is now part of the master plan of the city of Des Moines. When they went through the form-based code process, this area is now part of that development future. And so we look to this again as a near-term opportunity to generate NOI, great asset, great tenants, but long-term, this is spectacular property, looks across Grays Lake. You have the backdrop of the downtown skyline. Now you have connectivity with the bridge across the river. And then soon, hopefully we'll have a stadium development district that will also be accessible. So this is a great opportunity we see, again, long-term for development. So let's talk a little bit about some of the active projects we have going. So I mentioned Italy. So the Krause family purchased 2 wineries in northern Italy in the Barola wine region. And then recently, many of you have probably seen some publicity around purchasing a Serie A professional football club, professional soccer team in Parma Calcio. So we have a lot of opportunity, and we have a lot of business, and we have a lot of future opportunity in Italy. One of those is a 5-star boutique hotel called Casa de Longa. I encourage you to go to this website as well, casadelonga.com. This project, one of its mainstay missions is to be very focused on environmental sustainability, being carbon neutral, recycling water. We have a photovoltaic system. We have a geothermal system. So we are very focused on putting this forward as environmental, but we're also marketing it as a food destination, a wine destination, an art destination, and a way to get into nature surrounded by beautiful vineyards. So these are just some renderings of that property. It's 39 rooms, has a restaurant, a small workout spa, a pool, and just amazing views to the west across the valley. And then you have the Alps off in the distance on the western edge of the property. So we are actually about 5 weeks away from opening the doors of this beautiful property. We were supposed to open in November of last year, but then obviously COVID hit. We were shut down for construction for 5 months. Picked it back up, said, you know what? Even in the midst of the pandemic, we're going to push forward. We're going to get this ready because we know once things reopen, there's going to be a huge surge in demand for travel. So we're preparing, we're excited. And again, I encourage all of you to look at the website. And if you have the opportunity, want to travel over there, I highly, highly encourage it. You won't be disappointed. So view of this again is a rendering of a guest room. If you go to the website, there's actually some new photos. We just did some professional photography of the guest rooms and the lobby as we're getting things finished with the contractor there. This is the lobby. Just again, beautiful setting, very comfortable, very warm, a lot of natural materials, natural color, really trying to integrate with nature, but also being a luxury property at the same time. Another active project, we're looking at an adaptive reuse of the Crescent building. Many of you might know the Crescent Chevrolet building on the north side of Ingersoll by our building. So we're looking at a reuse there, creating potentially a destination brewery, some small scale retail and office. We really like the idea of reusing properties. We feel it's environmentally appropriate. We also feel like it celebrates the history of Des Moines where it makes sense. You know, and this building has some really, really cool, almost like mid-century modern architecture, things that we can preserve and rejuvenate for the city. This is just a picture of that building. Awesome building, great architecture, really some interesting opportunities for bringing some new energy and new business to this building. And this is just the site plan that shows you where that sits. If all goes as planned, we should have something coming active construction towards the end of this year with a goal to be opening something by the end of next year. So now the big one that everybody's been waiting to hear about, or maybe you've been hearing about, now you just want to learn a little bit more details about. So as you all know, we're working on a very large scale development plan, not just the land that we own on the 18 acres on South MLK, but also the 50-acre Dyko site. The prime tenant, the prime project is a 6,300 seat multi-purpose stadium, primarily for the soccer team that we're bringing to Des Moines, the professional soccer team, but also concerts, festivals, other city events. This will be a multi-purpose, multi-use facility that also happens to be the home of the professional soccer team. Our goal is a first kick in spring of 2024. I can tell you that, as you all know, being in the development construction business, that seems like a long ways away. But when you start talking about the scale of what we're doing, it's really close. So we're working feverishly to get this going. One of the key signature elements is a public plaza that will be surrounding the entry to the stadium. And we see that as an area for events, maybe, you know, a place for a bike race to start and stop, or a running race to start and stop, places to move festivals so we're not disrupting downtown business and roads. And then every day we'll have restaurants, bars, shops for people to visit, even on non-game or non-match days. We see it as a broad hospitality, entertainment, commercial district, all of which together is a $500 million investment for the next 10, 15, 20 years. On the stadium, I want to shout out to Envision locally as our representative, and then we're using the Gensler Sport Architecture team out of DC as our lead for stadium work. And then Envision is also helping us with master planning, city approvals, and other key elements of that project. So I'll flash up here's a conceptual site plan. So you can see MLK here on the top of the page on the north. This is Southwest 16th Street coming down to the west of the existing Mid-American Energy substation site. We have plans to put a come and go convenience store on the corner. Obviously the stadium sited here. And as I mentioned, we have this amazing plaza that fronts the stadium. So we would be able to close all this off and turn this into pedestrian friendly festivals, pre-match, post-match parties, events. We'll have small shops, restaurants sprinkled throughout the plaza that will double to serve on match day and also be available non-match day. You can see the footprint of the stadium, again, 6,300 seats, multi-use. We have parking scattered about. And then below here, we're showing conceptually a training complex for the team. So we'd have a small building for the team operations, and then some practice pitches. And then the idea is to then have small stands where these could be used for a youth tournament or some other purpose when not being utilized for the club. Located here on the southeast corner, looking over the stadium, is a hotel that we have planned that would, again, integrate. We see this entire development and the stadium project specifically as a draw, not just for Des Moines, not just the surrounding suburbs, but the entire state of Iowa and even outside the state. We really see events happening here that are going to draw people from Kansas City, Omaha, other places. So having a place to stay overnight, we feel is really important part of the vitalization of this whole project. So as you move east down future Tuttle Street, this is Tuttle connecting through. So this down here is the Hubble planned development that surrounds our holdings here. And then this is, again, conceptual, but this is a mixed use. This is a planned apartment building. We have some office in here. We may have an outdoor event entertainment venue. This is a parking structure for future needs to satisfy parking and access to this dense development area, plus anything that may be happening over here at the stadium. So as I mentioned, our goal is to have first kick in the fall of 2024. Ideally, we'd have the convenience store, the plaza, obviously all of this parking, the training complex, and ideally, if we can, the hotel. That's obviously going to be subject to maybe a little bit more, market. What can the market absorb? I can tell you though, in my history working in the hospitality world and working with hotel developers, being a hotel developer, I've already been contacted by 6 different hotel owner, operator, developer organizations that are interested not just in this hotel, but we also have planned a hotel on our north block by the Gateway Center that would help with guests and visitors that we have, assuming we get back to being fully open and having outside vendors coming in, but also the hospital needs a place for people to stay. So this will be, again, ideally around the same time, but this may drag behind a bit based on market needs. And then the rest of this would just flow, again, as market demand, but also, as we have inquiries. We already have inquiries for this potential use, and we've had inquiries for even, believe it or not, some office use mixed with retail. So we're very excited about this. I know it's a lot to cover in a short presentation. Here's another, this is more of a rendering. This shows you Southwest 16th Street. You can see the hotel in the distance. It'd be fantastic if we could have a rooftop bar, maybe a rooftop pool that can look down into the stadium and make an incredible experience. You can see the plaza with the concept of people gathering, entering the stadium, or just hanging out before the match, or just on a regular Thursday looking for a place to have lunch, or maybe come after work and grab a beer. We'll have benches, you can see landscaped areas to encourage people to gather, to stay. We have this really cool idea to have a double-sided video board so that you could actually activate this plaza. Maybe you can show, if we're playing, obviously you can show the action, but even on a regular day, you could have, I don't know, a Cubs game, an Iowa State football game, maybe an Iowa Hawkeyes game. Who knows? We could do all kinds of different things on this video board. I'm open to suggestions. I see a lot of head shaking. Yes, no, Hawks, Cyclones. I'm still trying to decide which direction to go. You guys are going to have to influence me. I'm an Aggie. I went to Texas A&M, so I tend to root for Iowa State because you guys can beat Texas every year. So, but then I get the pressure for those Hawkeyes. So. This is another aerial shot. Again, this would more from the northwest corner looking across. One of the things that I'm super excited about the potential here is you cross the bridge coming over the Raccoon River and you look off to the right and you see this wasteland of the Dyko site. And it's the front door to the city. People coming from the airport come up floor, they exit. One of the first things they see coming into the city is the Dyko site. One of the last things they see when they leave the city is the Dyko site, when they're going to and from the airport. How exciting will it be to be able to showcase this when people are driving in and out? To see this amazing stadium complex surrounded by new development, new energy, new excitement. Yeah, so as I talk about, rehabilitate, redevelop, transform this polluted site. It's been that way for 30 years. We're looking for things like this site certification, a sustainability focused project initiative. We're, again, very focused on the environment. We're looking at this to be a community gathering space, hosting festivals, trying to move some of that out of the city to be less intrusive to the city, but still be known as the city with the best festivals. And one thing that's really exciting about this as well is if you look at the development landscape, I'll skip back here for a second. If you look at the development landscape, this is kind of a hole in the development. So we see this as a connector. So it's going to connect the southern edge of the existing city down to here, down to the Water Trails project off the Raccoon River. And now you can even cross over the river and get to Gray's Lake. So this is going to complete that loop for pedestrians, bike riders, and just really make that complete connection through the city. And so that's just another exciting advantage of bringing this to life. This just shows, again, the context. So this is conceptual of the Central Iowa Water Trails project envisioned down here on the Raccoon River. This is the existing bridge that was built by Hubble. You can see Hubble's development. You can see Sherman's development. And it's not lost on me that the development all started here on the east, mostly to stay away from what was here over on the west. So now we have the opportunity to come in and build from the west to the center, meet this development moving from the east to the west, and complete this 100+ acre south of downtown community over the next 10, 15 years. And I can tell you, one of the things that I've appreciated, as I said in my intro, I've been fortunate to develop all over the US, all over the world. And I am just so excited about how cooperative the city of Des Moines is, how developer friendly, but not, they don't just do everything a developer wants, but they're developer friendly. They're solution oriented. And they're also looking for the long-term what's good for Des Moines, what's good for the citizens of Des Moines. And it's just been great and refreshing to work with everyone at the city, but also other developers. You know, in a lot of markets, developers are competing against each other, can be a little cutthroat. But here in Des Moines, I've found all of the developers I've worked with very open, willing to meet, willing to share ideas. And that's been the case here, working with Hubble, working with Sherman, and just looking to say, how do we make all of this work well together so we all participate in the benefits and the success. So with that, I think we have about 10 minutes.
Jerry,
I'll shift to Q&A. I know it was a lot to cover. I appreciate everybody's patience with that, but hopefully it was what you were looking for and hit the spot.
Jerry, thank you so much for your presentation. I do have a few questions that have stacked up either in the chat or been sent to me directly, if you don't mind.
Sure.
First question, could you talk a little bit about the progress? You touched on this a little bit already, but the cleanup of the DICO site. Can you talk a little bit about the progress being made there?
Yeah, sure. So pretty public knowledge, but sometime towards the latter part of 2020, there was a consent decree that was finalized between Titan Industries, which is sort of the overlay of DICO, the EPA, and the city of Des Moines. And so you can get copies of that consent decree. I think it's public record, but so that document lays out very specifically the responsibilities of each of the parties to clean up the site, and by clean up, demolition, removing some of the things on the above ground. And so the EPA has certain responsibilities, the city will have certain responsibilities, and then Titan had certain responsibilities. So that's all in the works. And then at some point, if things progress as planned, we will then work with the city to gain access to site in some form, a long-term lease or something to allow us to then come in and take it to the next level. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Another question, if you can share, what's the financing structure? Cross Plus and bank financing? Are you adding private equity, or are there other financing structures in place?
Yeah, so on our development projects, we pretty much look at Kraus Plus equity or Kraus Group, Kraus family equity, and then conventional bank debt. We are looking to negotiate some TIF arrangements with the city, so there would potentially be some TIF debt structure in there as well. So that's the primary funding source. When we look at the stadium, we are looking to make that more of a public-private partnership. We actually have a 501c3 that we've created, the Iowa Soccer Development Foundation. And so the stadium itself will be more of a public-private. There'll be some private donations from the Kraus family and other folks locally. There'll be ideally a piece with the state of Iowa through their Iowa Economic Development Associate, the IEDA, has a program where they can potentially support, talk to the county about some support. And then I mentioned working with the city on access to the site, and then also TIF across most, if not all of these projects where it makes sense.
Thank you. Next question. What's the vision for parking and transit to manage the influx of people who will want to enjoy the area? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. We do have surface parking interspersed here. If you can still see my screen here on the western edge, behind the stadium. That'll help serve game day to some degree. We do hope to see pedestrian traffic. There are some large city parking lots on the north side of MLK, so we hope to see those utilized. We do have a large parking structure planned here. that may end up being a surface lot for some period of time. The main artery in and out will obviously be Southwest 16th Street, but on the days where that's closed off, we'll have 14th Street coming through here, connecting to Tuttle. And so, we're going to be very sensitive about, anywhere there's a neighborhood or residential, how we manage that game day traffic, still something we need to work through all the details, but we're confident given the different entry points, exit points, and then the variety of places to park and then walk, we feel like we'll be able to manage that traffic flow in and out, particularly on those heavy match days.
Great. What's the biggest obstacle that's in front of this development becoming a reality?
Oh, wow. Anytime you're doing a public-private partnership, a public-private collaboration, everybody on the call knows when you're doing any development project, you're bringing together so many different factions, cities and states and investors, developers, users. So I would say, since the stadium is really the catalyst for all of this, bringing together those final details of that public-private partnership, I would say is the biggest thing we need to resolve, and we're in great shape to get that resolved. It just takes time, working through all of those complex details of funding, structure. And so I would say that's probably the biggest thing at this point. But I feel really, as I said before, I've just been so impressed with how all of those organizations come together in this market to make things happen. In so many jurisdictions, those entities, those jurisdictional entities, are looking for ways to stop development from happening. And so even though it is the biggest, I wouldn't necessarily obstacle, but the biggest hurdle for us to work through, where we sit today, I'm confident we can get there. I just don't know when. It just takes time, a lot of details.
Thank you. Maybe one or two more questions. Next question, the additional entertainment venue that you talked about, what would you envision happening there?
Yeah, so I'm sure it's not news to most of the people in the room here or on this call, but there are different live music venue operators that are looking at Des Moines, whether downtown, in the suburbs. There's 2 or 3 of them that have been in and out of the market looking for a site. And so this would be that kind of a venue where you would have a combination of an indoor concert music hall with an outdoor space. So that's what's envisioned to happen here, but we're still a ways away from anything certain. But that's the concept. We feel like that really fits a nice niche. So you have Wells Fargo, which can do the large events. We'll have a stadium that can do medium-sized events, or more than medium, but just not as large as what you would do inside Wells Fargo. And then this can fit that one more niche down, where maybe it's an up-and-coming artist. Maybe they come to Des Moines and play here one year, and then they take off. Then they come and they play in the stadium, and then 2 years later they're playing in Wells Fargo. So that concept.
Great. Maybe one last question before we wrap up. What is the appetite for development on the ground to the east of the Mid-America Station happening prior to the stadium development starting on a DICO site?
Yeah, I would say that the inquiries we've had have been more on the western edge, but we've had a couple of inquiries, but more soft, like what's the timing? So I would say that not as strong at this point, but we're comfortable that once this starts and it becomes real, now it's drawings on a paper and it's press releases and it's a lot of presentations, but once this is coming out of the ground, I'm confident that this area is going to start generating a lot of attention. Hey, let's build an apartment complex that's going to be right down the street from the stadium, and this amazing plaza and all the mixed use activity that can happen down there. Literally walk across the bridge to Grays Lake. I mean, so I think, and as I mentioned before, it's not lost on anyone why all this development started way over here on the east. So once this is looked upon as cleaned up under development, I think that this infill will start to happen at a faster pace.
Great, thank you. Well, we've got just a couple minutes left, or a minute left. I want to thank Jerry, Nick, everyone who participated, Jeff for his presentation, everyone who participated today. Really appreciate your time and being here. Again, I'm Joe Benish, your host for today, and I'll turn it back over to Stacy. Thanks again to everybody for being here.
I'll echo what Joe said, and I want to recognize Joe. When DIG went virtual, Joe stepped up and did an amazing job helping to organize these events and to facilitate. So as we move to more in-person events, I just want to make sure that we recognize Joe and give him a virtual round of applause here for all that he has done for us for the past year during the pandemic. And just want to let everyone know that the next dig is actually coming up fast. It is going to feature the Lordson Skate Park, and it's going to be on May 12th because the Dew Tour is hitting at the end of the month, so we're able to get in before that. So registration is live on the website right now. Go to the Chamber calendar and reserve your spot. That's all I have. Thanks so much for being here today, everyone.